Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. First of all, I'd like to thank all the viewers who wrote in praise of the new website, my big announcement from last week while doing the New Year's rave. So thank you for that, and I thank you on behalf of my developers too, who have made it all happen. Brilliant people. And I have now a functioning site that enables me to bring you more content and more things, and I feel like Captain Kirk in the Enterprise. There's so many ways of adding content and changing it, and it's going to be really good as a vehicle now. I'm so pleased it's updated and that you like it. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's get back into the questions, and I want to start off with a question from Georgina. Because it's a key to a number of other questions that have been asked. Here's her question. Open root is tough. Always feel a pressure to be taking action or total inertia. Rushing or frozen seems to be my theme. So learning how to dive into the gifts of an open root with only one hanging gate, ambition, that's gate 54, dangling in front of me is my learning for this year. Removing caffeine helped at first, as I could see how jerky and reactive I had become. However, I'm used to no caffeine now, so I get to really feel the pressure of the root in its pure form. It filters into everything I do, quite incredible. Awareness is my greatest asset, so gently I am learning to move at my own pace and take more rest breaks. Let others see what no stress actually looks like. Trust, not tension, is my mantra. Thank you for that, Jordina. That's just such a wonderful mantra. And it brings me to the theme of this video, which is basically the pressure sandwich. You know, Ra often said we live in a pressure sandwich, the root, the pressure where we must do things, where we have to do things in order to survive in this material realm. And above in the head center, the pressure to think. So we're sandwiched in between, whether you have a head center or a root center or not. That is what it is to be incarnated in a body. But if we look closely at the open root, because I'm so pleased that Georgina is actually exploring what it is to have an open root, not getting caught up in the stress that most people get caught into when they have an open root, hurrying around, rushing into this. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I left it to the last minute and now it's an emergency, and overusing those adrenals and getting exhausted. Instead, she's got the point. She has an open root. And yes, it will filter into everything. It is the center that says I must or I have to. It is emergency energy. But she hasn't got it to use all the time, and living on it burns you out. So she's taking her time. She's pacing herself. She's having rests. She's letting the open root be open. There are two key gates in that root. They're key because they're source gates for functionality and for the logical way to proceed in the world. The 52, the gate of a passive pressure of being still. And the 58, the openness of joy, the love of life itself. And ultimately, we're here to be still and joyous. I mean, that's the lesson here. Fundamental keys to living well in this life. And very few people actually take the time and the trouble to go in there. Well, she has, and it's working well for her. And absolutely realizing that caffeine will amp you up, but it will also drain you. Dropping that, and then getting to see what the wisdom of the open root is. That wisdom can also be applied to the fixed root. I have a fixed root myself. I have the 360, the channel of mutation, the pressure to work on something new, the energy to finish what I get into, the commitment to go into the journey of discovery once I've committed. and the power in the 34 to plow through whatever I have to plow through. So I have learned by trial and error that if I go dashing off into one adventure or another, which I certainly did when I was younger, I will find out more of the error than otherwise. And these days, I make sure I have a buffer of time. I realized that time is basically the thing above all else that I have had a real problem with. Never enough time, always busy. But slowly, by having my life in a way where I don't have deadlines right in the edge, if they're there, then I will deal with them. But I do my utmost to make sure that I am not pressured from the outside. I want to be pressured from the inside. I want to let my energy respond to something that is appropriate to me. And in that sense, it's a good, healthy pressure. But I'm not pressured about the outside world so much. Not anymore. I don't want all that in my life any more than Georgina wants it in her life. So the buffer of time, the wisdom to be able to go in and be still. We have an inner and an outer. And we're dealing with the outer all the time, and all the distractions and all the people and all the things that have to be done and said and all the rest of it. But in fact, you also have an inner to balance you. There is also this place inside when those people who meditate or do yoga, who have gone into that, know that the inner, if still and tranquil, will change your experience of the outer. So thank you, Georgina, very much for that. What you've written in this comment is something for people to ponder that if they have an openness, they can use it as a wisdom. They can begin to see the wisdom in it. We are incarnated in this form, but we are a witness. We're not here to be pressured into initiating things all the time, making things happen in our life. This is why all the inner authority is based in the body. There's something in the body that knows the right pace, the right thing for us to get into. And that is your inner authority. So those of you with a fixed head, you are under pressure to think. And my head developer also has a pressure to think through the 6124. And my God, I'm glad he has. He'll ask me questions. I'll ask him questions. We'll work out a way to overcome whatever the obstacle is. His mind is brilliant for me. But if he is in his own mind thinking all the time about what he should be doing or whatever, it's a nightmare. There was another question from a viewer that said, could you do some more about lines that suck and going back to the 47? Well, the 47 is a gate of oppression. And if you live that in the open ajna, always trying to make sense of confusion, being very confused in the process, getting lost in all that, it's a nightmare. But if you just relax and realize that you have a natural ability to make sense out of things, if you're not under pressure to keep thinking about them, it happens over time. It's 47, it's cyclic, it's part of the abstract circuit. So you take your time, you mull over it, you let the ideas come through, you get different perspectives, and from that, there is no problem. You can see what you need to see. If you're caught up in it personally, then it's a problem. So when we come to a question like Wings 147, who asks, I have a question. As a 2-4 manifesting generator with a defined head and ajna, conscious channel 1762, I always have ideas and plans that I want to try, but I am not really sure I should respond to these mental urges. I would love to hear your answer about this. The fixed ajna is there to think. It's there to conceptually organize, in your case, the world around you in usually a plan. But it's a thought. It's a thought that can be spoken. It's nothing to do with doing. So if you're responding to your thoughts, you're being trapped like everybody else, running around like headless chickens, because you're trying to live out a plan that you've thought of, rather than waiting to respond to what life is going to bring you. And then when you respond, then the 1762 is brilliant and being able to get you to do it in the most logical, sensible way. Well, hopefully. But responding to one's thoughts is just giving energy to your thoughts. It doesn't mean that you've got a response to it. The response is to do something. Then you're in action. That's when the body takes over. Then you're in action. But if there's no movement in the sacral, if there's no energy really moving to actually do something, except think about it, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and it's not going to take you where your plan tells you can go. So no, you're not here to respond to your own mind. The mind can never be a decision maker for us. If you look at the body graph, you'll see the head center is sticking outside of the body. It's not even allowed in the body. This concept of us being witnesses is so important. It's so important. It's only when you can detach from the personal outer and identification with all that you can find your tranquility, that you can find your peace. And again, we come back to this this other mantra, which I rather love, which is life is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. It's really a mystery to be lived. You don't know what you're going to respond to. You don't know where it's going to take you. You have to wait to respond. No matter what plan your mind may have about what you should do, it's not going to take you where your life force really needs to go. The sacral comes first, in your case. Which brings me to a wonderful comment by Ian Goss, and he writes, I had a classic crisis this morning. I got on the wrong bus, spent a while uncertain on top of Dundry Hill. Worked out fine. Successful completion of voluntary work in my favorite tribe. I felt uncertain before leaving home this morning, a bit suspicious. But if I hadn't passed through the crisis, I would have been stuck in limitation all day. It's one or the other, no escape. And he wrote a poem. Oh, those so hidden, more than hidden, the unexpected rides ridden to no man's land, on a bus too late, healed this one-man band, saddled by fate. So basically, what I got out of that was like he had this nervousness about going out, and crisis came as a result of it, and it all turned out okay. One of the lessons I've learned is that we can have a whole lot of fear about something, and when you actually find yourself in it, it's not half as bad as you thought. In fact, it can actually be quite fun. So yes, the unexpected will come, and the cross of unexpected that the new year began upon will bring out the unexpected like this. But it's to expand us. The new year, the whole year of all the things that can happen in the year is here to be an opportunity for us to grow. No plan will deal with the unexpected. No plan can suspect the mutation that may come through individuality. It's not in the plan. It may not even exist until it does. But my main point is, it turned out good. It turned out better than expected, despite the nervousness. Movement is life. You know, if people are not moving in their lives, they're not moving and they're not really alive. One of the biggest dangers for the majority of people as sacral beings is a kind of stagnancy that comes to the sacral when you're not doing work that's correct for you, when you're not doing anything at all. The whole life force kind of hunkers down and doesn't really want to do much at all. It does less and less and less and less. It degenerates. So movement is important. And movement, according to response, of course, is the thing to go for if you are a sacral. Which brings me to a question from Brownie5917. And they say, I'm curious about your thoughts on this, as I'm sure you have been exposed to it in your days as a Mind, Body, Spirit magazine publisher. New Age manifestation content is very popular on the internet now. For those of us who are not designed to initiate, should we be wary of such content? For example, I am a generator. Is it advisable for me to practice the kind of visualization techniques taught by Neville Goddard, etc., to manifest my desires? Does human design, with its strategy and authority, render these techniques obsolete or dangerous for non-manifestors? Great question. This is an example of someone saying, I can get you to manifest. And we're not manifestors. Only about 10% of people are manifestors. And you know what? Manifestors don't particularly want to do a lot either. Do you, manifestors? I mean, it's not like they want to keep doing. They can initiate, but they'd much prefer to start something off and the generators come in and do most of the work. That is natural. So the idea of turning everybody, generators and projectors and reflectors into manifestors to fulfill their desires, make your desires happen. Well, this is what happens in the not-self world. All these people, the majority, are trying to make their desires happen. And they're not having a very good time. They're not really enjoying their life. I think it may have some benefit in that 65% of people have an open will, and they don't really feel like they're worth much, and they don't know how to value themselves. So maybe Neville has some visualization techniques that can help people, get ready to go and do something that is appropriate to them, which instead of holding back from that, maybe. But, life isn't about manifesting all the time. It's crazy. And manifesting your desires. I mean, we used to do that when we were younger. Where did that go? I mean, in like total crisis a lot of the time, trying to make things happen, trying to push against life with our own lack of will. Good luck with that one. So no, human design teaches the exact opposite. It says, find out who and what you are. And I would say what we are, you can see in your nature in a human design chart. I think who you are is how you live what you are. And that takes time. And that takes observation. And that takes awareness. And it takes the living of your own life to know the difference. A little like Georgina's question right at the beginning. She's getting used to having an open root and letting it be open, rather than trying to go, okay, I've got to do this and I must do that, and manifesting from that wanting of the adrenaline rush. No. It's almost like being able to be a witness and allow the body to drive itself. And who you are becomes more and more apparent if you let that happen. So from my point of view, it's exactly opposite to what Neville and such people teach. I know it's very attractive on the internet. Of course it is. Make your dreams come true. I mean, look what I talked about last week in the New Year's rave. Lots and lots of 41s, There's going to be a lot of that. But where will it lead? Nobody really knows. But the worst can be expected if you're trying to push the river. This brings me to the next question from 7 stars 312. Hi, Richard. I'm a projector with an undefined SolarPlexus, and I've noticed that I feel a much greater sense of compatibility with other non-emotionals. To be honest, I find being around people with a defined SolarPlex much more draining than being around those with a defined sacral. In my daily life, the split between emotional and non-emotional beings seems to affect me more than the gap between the sacral and non-sacral types. It feels as though we receive much deeper conditioning through the SolarPlex than any other center. Does this observation align with human design mechanics, or is it just my personal perspective? Thank you for that question, 7 stars. 312. Yes, your experience does tie to the mechanics of human design. The emotional center is the primary center in terms of affecting the way things happen. It is a very dense energy. It is a very powerful energy. You know, feelings can move on such a frequency from the most sensitive to the most loud and impactful. There are 2 manifestor channels coming out of that center, and it's being built by the root, you know, and it's always in movement. So yes, it can be very disturbing as an open solar plex to be around it. However, if you accept that you have an open solar plexus, you'll find that you can become emotionally wise by what you feel, by what you pick up from others. The danger is in taking it personally. The danger is being pulled into their drama rather than just taking it in and feeling what it is, what kind of energy it is that's coming towards you. So the wisdom of the solar plexus is very different from having it open and being a victim of emotional energy. You know, so many open solar plexuses will move around life, keeping out, you know, keeping safe from the emotional energy, and they're afraid of powerful emotions. So they're always kind of like this with them. And yet you're going to receive the conditioning anyway. So if you're taking it in, you don't have to hold it in. All the awareness centers, the solar plex, the spleen, and the ajna, are going to tend to hold on to those themes where the gates are. Those are the awareness centers. So we end up holding on to the pain of being hurt, if there's a tribal aspect as an example. Or we hold on to the longing for a deeper and special connection if we have a open 22, waiting for something to hear, waiting for the right voice to come and speak directly to their innermost spirit. Or we hold on to desires that we haven't yet lived in the open 30, or whatever it may be. We hold on. That's the danger. That's why it's disturbing, because we're affected by it, and then we try to deal with the pain of it and the chaos of it, or the movement of it that is uncomfortable to us. And it is a long journey to work with emotional energy, which is half the people on the planet. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm going to live away from the emotionals. No, without the emotionals, there's no pleasure. Without the emotionals, you know, there's so much beautiful, enlivening, exciting energy that can come from the emotional center. It's part of life. You know, half of us are emotional. It's part of being alive here. It's about getting the right perspective for yourself. It's about going in and seeing how it's affecting you without judgment. Certainly without judgment of the other. All emotionals are going to emote. They're here to do that. It's not about blaming them for that. This is their movement. And in their emotions, great truth can also be heard. It may not be in words. It may be what you pick up inside yourself, the truth of what they say. So there's a lot to learn there. And yes, in human design mechanics, it is the primary center in that sense. And the final question is from Peter. And he asks, I've been studying human design for a while using free resources and have a solid grasp of the mechanics, strategy, authority, types, gates, channels, etc. And I've also had a professional reading. I'm now feeling the pull to go deeper. In your view, is deep embodiment of human design primarily about living the experiment, consistently following strategy and authority, or is formal study essential to truly understand and live the system at a deep level? Are there any special resources or approaches you'd recommend for someone at this stage? Great final question, Peter. Thank you. Well, the expansion of human design is in its general understanding. You know, people are getting an idea of what it is to be their type and what it is to have their authority. And yes, indeed, their channels and gates to some degree. But as Ra often said, God is in the details. And if you do go deeper, you'll understand that human design is actually a wonderful language to be able to describe what is going on. If you recognize at a line level, if you recognize at deeper and deeper levels of the system exactly what your makeup is, you get to see it play out. You get to see it being animated in your life, because after all, it is part of your design. And there's a language that goes with it. It's your language. So you won't really learn that unless you go deeper. And, you know, you're asking a 1-3, and a curious 1-3. So, and a 1-3 that loves the truth. So yeah, I had no choice. And I don't regret a moment of it, because it really has taken me not just into the strategy and authority and the living of the design, which is the main thing, to be the passenger consciousness, but not as an idea of being a passenger, as a real witness, as you recognize yourself in the world, living your design, as you recognize other people living out their design, whether it be true self or not self. It doesn't really matter, you know, in terms of what you're witnessing. You're here to see that, and you're here to understand it and speak it. At least you have a chance to do that if you go deeper. Before human design, one of the things I studied for 3 years was philosophy, trying to find the truth in books from great thinkers, I thought. But, you know, they killed that stone dead at university. They weren't interested in the depth. They were just interested in the ideas. Here in human design, you are given the keys to describe what is actually going on in you and on in others, and also the transit field and the connectivity of all of it. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile. And any resources, well, you're asking me. I would say I've already got all the foundation courses are up there on my site. And I'll be launching a professional training on the 1st of April this year for those who have done the foundational courses. So I'll take you deep if you want to go deep. If you feel the pull to go deep and the pull keeps pulling you, then you better follow it. If it's just a short-term curiosity, then forget it. Don't waste your money, because once you jump in there, it's really a matter of staying the course. Ra often said that human design changes the way we think. It does indeed open up different areas of our experience that you wouldn't normally come across or think about. It not only opens them up, it gives you a pathway to go in and journey down that train of experience, of knowing, of realizing what it is to be here as you. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone to be an investigator. It's not for everyone to go to the depths. And human design at its deeper level is never going to be for everyone. It's not meant to be. It's really for those who are ready for the travel. I have never found anything as fruitful as human design, which is why I've been doing it for 27 years, and I'm not looking to do anything else, because it is a journey, and it's an ongoing journey, and the knowledge isn't limited to books. It is a living knowledge. So going deeper certainly enriches the experience of living one's design, in that you really do get to recognize so many things you would never recognize before. It gives you access to the whole web of consciousness, if I put it that way. So often we live in a very tight, personal, restricted perspective. There's so many distractions out there to pull us away from ourselves, to get us involved with this. You know, the outer is really pushing. but to be able to see that it is the outer and it isn't you, to be able to be in the center of your own life and live from there. And part of that is about recognizing it as it comes out of you, precisely, in ways that no one has ever spoken before. It's for each one of us to have our own experience of what it is to be us. And that's very special. And it also makes life incredibly interesting and potentially very transforming. Ra talked about human design being here to free the slaves. And the joke of that is that the slaves are slaves of themselves, and they're slaves of the dream of, getting beyond all the resistance in their life by being masters of their life and powerful position where they can do what the hell they want. That's not freedom. If you look at the most powerful people in the world, do they look free to you? Do they look happy to you? Do they look as if their lives are complete? They don't to me. Freedom is living out your nature. Who you are is how you live out that nature. Then you get to discover who you are. That is the solid ground, and it becomes more solid the more you live it, because it just feels comfortable. Life is not experienced as the resistance it normally is. You don't have to overcome all the resistance in the world. You just have to overcome the resistance in yourself by making correct decisions. And then whatever you go into, it's you witnessing what it's like to go into it. And that to me is what it's all about. So yeah, going deeper into the knowledge, I think, is a wonderful move for those who are pulled towards it. For those who aren't, then just getting a sense of their type will do a lot. They're following their strategy and authority if they can do it. When people can get to the point where they follow their inner authority as a matter of course, they don't give themselves a rule, I must follow my inner authority. It just happens. It's like something that you rely on. It's where you've put your feet in this world, how you move in this world. So, as Ra said, the mind goes back and back. It's no longer in control. It doesn't matter what you think. If you're a generator, it matters how you respond and what you respond to and when you respond. And if you are aware of that, if you follow that movement of energy, it all works out. A bit like Ian's story. It all works out in the end, no matter what. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back again very soon with something completely different. See you then. Bye for now.